Yeah. And I don't know if he wants to come up here, if he wants to jump on the link or let me drop the link, but he did send me something that he wanted me to
Yeah,
mention
I'm
on the
looking
panel.
now. He sent it to me too. I'm looking now.
Yeah, you want to read it because it could be very important information to a lot of people in our community, especially all those people who was put out of the Legacy Crossing apartments right before Christmas.
Let
They
me
talking about they
see.
giving
I
people
don't know.
checks, honey,
Mm.
deposit, honey.
Should I lie and
But
say I
you
live
know
out
what?
there too?
That's something that they should have been given anyway. But
Yeah.
you know what? With the apartment building, basically they're filing like bankrupt, or they was underwater, the apartment building. So I would be surprised if they could actually pay all those tenants their deposits back. I
Well,
would
they're paying
actually
them the deposits and they letting them know. I guess there's a phone number they have to call,
yes, and you
and
can read it. You
they
can
have
read
to
it if you
bring.
want.
They tell you what time you can pick it up, and you have to bring an ID.
Yeah, you got to
I
prove that you live
repeat,
there, honey. Bring your ID.
bring an ID, bring a current utility bill, something like that that shows that you currently lived or you lived there
Yeah, show
when all
something that
of
you
this
live
went
there. I
down.
would take my last phone bill, my last light bill, whatever kind of bill you got up in there,
Yeah,
cable, whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what it's saying. And the phone number is area code 402 493 5454. And this is for the residents that have been displaced out at Legacy Crossing.
Mm-hmm.
I'll repeat that phone number again. It's 402
And let me put it in the chat too.
493 5454. And this is, it says, if you were at Legacy Crossing, call this number to see if you have a check for your deposit. So I
Right.
don't think it's guaranteed, but
Yeah,
call them and see if you got
it might depend on what you had to pay when you moved in, because you know some apartment buildings they might have special. You don't have to pay a deposit to move in, or you only got to
it.
pay
Right.
partial deposit to move in, or so yeah. If you know you paid a deposit, I would definitely be calling them, and I did put the information in the chat. Thank you, Hurst, for sending me that information.
Yes, CP.
Because that's I still can't believe what, and even when we was talking about before Karma Diva and Sislo, I said I can believe that they shut them joints down. I just cannot believe because they got the right to
CP, I
shut
need
them
you to hit
down in
me up tomorrow.
October. They got the right to shut them down like in October. They waited till 3-4 days before Christmas, before a
That
major
was so
snowstorm in
heartless.
our community to
That
put them
was
out on the street.
so heartless.
And how many was it? Three, four
That was
hundred
the most
families?
heartless shit I ever seen.
400 families. Just put them
Yeah.
out.
Well, actually, about 164, but still, that's still a substantial
It's a
number
lot of people
to do
homeless
that
right
to.
before
And
Christmas.
then, if you watch the news, there were several people who had just, they had been homeless and
And
they
just
had
move in.
just recently moved in there,
But did
like
you see
months
the
before.
lady who was, oh my God, you know what? Karma Diva. I done stayed way, way back in the day. I done stayed in some places where I know if I had the choice now, I'll probably be like, let me reconsider this shit. But when you sometimes don't have a choice, I done stayed in places like that where I'm like, I know I should be living here. I didn't have kids at the time, but it was before kids, it was pre-kids. But still, I'm like, I can't believe I'm living up in this. I done been there where you just didn't have no choice. It was either that or I stayed homeless like I
Right.
was. So
I remember
my
I had a
heart went
homegirl.
out to
She had
that.
just moved back from Chicago, and
Yeah.
remember them hotels they used to have? Remember they used to have the Y downtown,
Uh huh.
and they used to have them raggedy, nasty crackhead, heroin
Yes.
addict, pissy apartments and shit all behind
Uh-huh.
it.
Uh-huh.
She had moved in there, and it was her and her kid and her sister and her like 2 or 3 kids.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, you could smell the piss from the sidewalk. That was
Mm-hmm.
with the door shut before you even walked upstairs. And I was just like, and I'm not gonna lie. Yes, I walked in there and I had my nose all turned up and out of joint because I was like, really?
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't find nothing else.
Nathan.
Nathan else. Nathan else. That's when
Not
you know
Nathan.
she's serious. Nathan else.
Right.
You
She
couldn't
got one of
find
my
not
words
Nathan.
there.
Shit.
But
Nathan else. I'm telling you, I stayed, man, I don't even want to, child. I remember staying with people, and I ain't trying to put nobody on blast. I really ain't, because when I think back to being on the streets in my younger days, and then people let me in, I remember staying with people who had infestation. I mean, it was like desperate measures. And that's why I said I totally understand people who are homeless and an apartment building finally allows them to lay their head somewhere. They feel safe. They think they, moving into a good spot, especially if they got children. And
you
then
talking
as
about
soon
you
as you move
called
in, like that girl who was on the news, who was talking to KTV, she said, as soon as I moved in, I noticed there were rats, not mice, rats,
right.
rat infestation. Sis, I'm
I
telling you,
mean,
that shit. I was like, oh, and they showed all the
You're not about to
pictures.
show no video, are you?
No, not right now.
Girl, because that I
show it,
can't.
show it, show it, show it, show it.
Well, that's what you can show it.
What's up, 402
Karma,
Revenue? Have you
my
grew that
little
beard back
sister is a
yet?
bully.
402 Revenue, have you grew that beard back yet? You got
Girl,
5
you just
weeks.
asked him about that beard last week. It
You
ain't
got
popped up
five.
yet.
No, he got 5 weeks. He got 5 weeks to look like Santa Claus. He got 5 weeks to look like a black Santa Claus.
What's gonna happen in 5 weeks?
He better have that beard back. Go around here trimming that thing off, looking like he 21. Shoot. The hell?
Okay, little old baby face.
I know, little baby face. But no, man. He said, what he say? Somebody been eating some good chicken, Popeyes. What the
He
heck?
talking about my lips.
Oh!
It took me a second to figure it out.
Yeah.
That's all right. I got you. I'll deal with you off camera.
Girl, I'm over here dying. I did not even. That went straight over my head.
It took me to read it a couple of times myself.
Just tell them covered in my lip gloss. We popping.
Okay. My man don't mind. Ow.
That part. Her man don't mind, and that's all that matters. Me leaving lipstick. What kind of flavor is it? Is it a flavor?
Oh Lord.
Girl, you know how you be having that flavor on your lips and you be kissing your nigga? Boy, they be like, give me all that strawberry, give me all that apple, give me all that grape, give me all that. They be thinking they eating a whole bowl of fruit.
I got a good one because I can tell you that man he loved me with crust in my eyes and every damn thing else. I'll be like, what are you talking?
Did you say question your eye?
Leave my mouth out. But I guess that's what you call true love.
Child, let me but yeah, I do have a video here. I'm gonna play it real quick before Cicelo leave.
Before I
I
leave,
don't want Cicelo to run off. But it's just a little update video. It's just a little update video. I don't think it's gonna show anything. I don't think it's gonna show anything like gross or anything. But everybody hit mute. This is pertaining to the story that we have been covering for the past since Christmas, since like the 20th of December when they was put out. Something like that. Okay. Alrighty, y'all. So let me blow this up.
Oh, and I just wanted to let you know I'm not going to be on here too long. I've been having migraines for the past 2 weeks, and
okay,
still keeping up. So,
okay, that's cool. That's cool. Okay, let me play this.
Emails obtained by KETV Investigates reveal years worth of violations at the Legacy Crossing apartments, and an inspector suggested closing them down in November. Good evening, I'm Bill Shamrocks.
I'm Julie Cornell. The city of Omaha did close all 17 buildings, but that order came just days before Christmas. Inspections noted everything from mold to rodents and raw sewage and apartments without heat. As KETV Newswatch 7's Sarah Felias learned, an inspector worried for tenant safety long before that.
Tonight, we're asking if the city could have shut down the apartments sooner. She's live with the investigation. Sarah.
In a request for emails from the city dating back to 2019, there's a long list of violations and work done to fix them, followed by more violations. City inspectors with both housing and fire say as long as work is being done and owners are communicating, their hands are essentially tied.
Days before Christmas, tenants at Legacy Crossing off 108th and Fort learned they must leave their apartments for serious safety violations. But it turns out the city knew about the violations well before then. Omaha Fire Battalion Chief Scott Fitzpatrick oversees fire inspectors.
We've been there for 10 months fighting this battle with Legacy Apartments.
Emails dating back to 2019 detailed violations, but Anna Bespoyasny, the city superintendent of permits and housing inspectors, says work was being done.
The owner was actively engaged in rehabbing the property. They had pulled permits, they were improving multiple units.
The City of Omaha Housing has two ways apartments can be inspected. One is through tenant complaints. The other is through the newly formed rental registry, which randomly selects 15% of apartments on a property to be inspected.
The rental side of inspections that we did, they did pass this first year.
The issue with both routes is the housing inspector can only check the complaint apartments or the randomly selected apartments, and the owners legally have to be given time to fix any violations.
We are bound by a consent decree from a lawsuit back in, I think it was 2012, 2013. And so the timelines that are associated with our compliance measures are dictated within that consent decree.
The city says it brought in fire inspectors early last year on a hoarding complaint. They're allowed to inspect entire buildings, but they also have to give owners time to fix issues. And while both inspectors reported problems and progress, emails show communication with Legacy's owners began to break down last August.
We tried to work with them, with the owner, tried to get with them, tried to have them, fix the corrections that needed to be fixed. And it just got to the point where nothing was happening. And we didn't want a tragedy to happen.
Emails obtained by KETV reveal multiple conversations about Legacy Crossing. The fire inspector on November 4th saying, quote, "The property condition is getting worse," end quote, and that the property owners seem to have given up, putting tenants' lives at risk. The city says around this time, Legacy's owners told them they plan to sell the property. In an email after a meeting held by housing and fire inspectors, along with the property owner's attorney on November 22nd, the fire inspector writes, quote, "The lawyer did not excuse the apartment conditions, but wished to stretch out any possible closing of buildings until after the sale. I expressed to the lawyer, John, that my concern is for the tenants and the owners, and that it sounds as if he's wanting to compromise the life safety of tenants to get to the possible closing date. I expressed to him that the owner had since February to get the buildings up to code, but that shortly after starting, they just stopped altogether. Residents were forced to move almost a month later. The city stresses work was being done behind the scenes legally to line up the order to vacate.
It wasn't until we were able to confirm with the fire inspections that their inspections had come up with serious enough violations that we could basically prepare a coordinated effort to vacate the buildings.
The city says it decided Thursday, December 15th to vacate and informed the property owners and tenants Monday. Inspectors say they were working with nonprofits and city leaders to secure new housing for tenants.
What we didn't want to have happen is vacate these people and have them literally out on the street with no place to go.
The city says, while not perfect, they consider Legacy Crossing's order to vacate a success, saying there were no tragedies, especially after nearly back-to-back fires in buildings. But they know they do need to reflect.
I welcome the scrutiny. I think we need to be constantly working towards better implementation of whatever laws that we have available to us on the books. So, you know, we're going to go back. We're going to look at, you know, is it the rental ordinance that maybe we need to fine tune a little bit?
And they share the frustration, saying ultimately this is on the property owners. We reached out to them by phone and email. We're waiting for a response.
Sometimes we hold out hope that they're really working with us on a good faith basis, and we're left to wonder why we put so much trust and faith in them.
So basically, from what we can gather, and welcome to the panel, CP. Basically, from what we can gather, they were trying not to fix the shit that's supposed to be fixed and leave it up to the new owners. They was trying to get through the sale and have nobody put out until the sale and everything was finalized. Ain't that some
but
shit?
What's pissing me off is this shit has been going on since 2019.
For years.
That's 4 years.
Years.
And then you wait until 3 days before Christmas during a
We
ice
had
storm.
blizzards and all ice storms and all kind of shit going on that week.
The whole continent, pretty much the whole continental 48.
Yeah.
But the thing is this, if you listen to what the people say from the city, as long as the landlord is doing some improvements, they try not to shut them down. So the landlord was doing some improvements, trying to hang on for that sale.
But a few weeks ago, I saw something in the news where it said that they had put millions of dollars into the complexes that weren't even rented.
Right.
They were fixing up all these complexes that weren't even rented.
Because they wanted to fill them up as much as they could.
Instead of
make it look like it was a prosperous building, and that would, you know, entice the buyer, knowing that these were some shitty ass apartments.
But when the buyer realized that the situation was much bigger, they backed out. And once that happened,
was smart.
Then the owner stopped all conversation with the city, because they was probably like, what the fuck we gonna do now? What the fuck we gonna do now? Y'all done put all those millions into the complexes that nobody lived in for the purposes of the buyer, and they put no money in the ones that people was mold. Girl, did you see the pictures? Like bro be saying, take the pictures. Like what's that pastor up there in New York, the one who in jail right now for lying about
I know you're talking about.
What's his name? Cicelo Bishop
Whitehead or Blackhead or something.
Yeah, Bishop Blackhead.
I call him Blackhead. His name is Whitehead, but I call him Blackhead.
Yeah, we call him Bishop Blackhead. But yeah, he up there. Basically, all the people who really, really needed their apartments tended to, they was dealing with mold, caved-in roofs, no water, no heat, rats, roaches. When they showed the videos and the roaches, roaches are out in the daytime. When
Right.
they in your house like it's a track meet going on. They at Burke High School in the summertime. It's a track meet going on in the daytime with the roaches. Like they had mice, dead rats, just all over the place in the buildings.
See, you know what? You talk about those buildings that they cleaned up. I have a relative who moved into those apartments. I ain't gonna mention no names, but they must have moved into one of them nice ones. Because I went in there when they moved in.
The
It
ones
looked
that are
really nice.
Mm-hmm.
It looked really nice. Third floor apartment, fireplace, balcony, everything looked nice. New carpet, new appliances, everything was kosher.
Yeah,
But even they realized that it wasn't all the buildings. All the buildings didn't look like that.
See, and I don't know. I never went inside. My mister, his cousin had lived. He moved in there. He's been gone now, but he was in there about maybe a year ago. He stayed, but then he moved. But I never heard him say anything bad. I might even call him and ask
call him up, girl. We might get like a little interview, girl. Call him up.
I don't want to talk to his ass on here.
Girl, call him up. Tell him what you want. You better call him.
I'll hit him up and ask him, but I ain't finna bring him on here.
I've been hoping that somebody would reach out because I don't know nobody who lives there. If I did,
well, he lives there, but like I said, I'll hit him up and
trust me. If he moved last year, if they've been having problems since 2019, he moved last year. I'll guarantee he got some shit to say.
He probably do, and he's one of them. He like everything spotless. Everything got to be where it got to be. Don't move. So yeah, I'll hit him up and
see if he wants to come on. Because trust and believe, if I knew anybody who lived there, I would have been contacted them. I would have been had them on here.
I don't know about bringing him on here.
Hey, tell him he ain't even got to show his face. Like, okay, this is what I was gonna get back to y'all before I showed the video. There was a white lady who lived there, and her dad had to come and get her and her daughter, help them move. And she said, I'm so embarrassed. She said, I'm so embarrassed because she said, I would not normally live in these conditions. She said, I would not normally, she said, but she started explaining what she was going through. And she said they basically, just like when we moved into 4-8, the high risers on 4-8 years ago when I was home, girl, it was me and like 4 other girls, and some lady in our church finally felt sorry for us, and she reached out to her landlord and she said, please, could you give these ladies an apartment because they are homeless? And he literally, no checking, no background, no calling, no jobs. We moved in like the next day. Wow. So there are some landlords out there who don't give a fuck about your background or if you got a job or not. They just want that first month's rent that,
I kind of like them.
I do kind of like them, but when you're in the hood, you got to be careful when you're in the hood. And y'all know 4-8, if y'all ever been in 4-8 back in the day, like in the 90s, them shits was...
Man,
that's why I said
that was life or death up in them bitches, and I ain't even playing. It was life or death up in there.
And it was life or death. The entire 4-8 from Ames Street all the way to Sprague Street, boy.
All the way up to you, all the way up. Boyd Street.
Boyd was,
Whoa.
And I used to stay in some apartment complexes on Boyd Street after I had my second child. And
hell no.
Boyd Street was all gang territory. All gang territory.
Gang and crackheads.
Yep. Go ahead, Curtis. Go ahead.
For those of us who aren't quite hood, what is 4-8?
What do you say?
What is 4-8? I'm not that good.
Oh, I'm sorry. You know the high risers on 4-8. The high risers on 48th and Sprague.
48th and Sprague. They over there by where North Star is.
Okay, yeah. From North Star, you can see them tall ass high risers on 48th and Sprague. And right now they are community. What are they now? They
some kind of community.
Like 3 stories.
It's like owned by the city. I'll just say that it's owned by the city right now. They do some type of community involvement or something in there. But back in the day, 4-8 was the spot where you could make a lot of money. and you can get a lot of honey.
Oh, like that.
Okay.
The 4-8 was ghetto as
go
fuck.
back to my
Put
point.
it out there.
And not just 48th and Sprague, but like I said, all the way from 48th and Ames on up. Every block,
It's
because you know,
still shitty over there.
CP, you know how you turn off of 48th and Ames and you going south, all those streets with all those apartment buildings? Yeah, that whole area was drug infested and gang
It's
infested.
still shitty
It
over
still
there.
is.
And I'm gonna tell you
It still
what.
is. I know what you're talking about.
Now all them like Vietnamese people.
Yep. Yeah, there's a
They
lot
done
of them
took
over
all of that.
Man, I'm telling you, when I stayed on, I used to stay on 4-8 in Sprague. I stayed there. That was my very first. No, I'm lying. That's not my first apartment because I stayed with my boyfriend until he cheated on me, and then we got in a fight, and we got put out. Okay, so that was my second apartment building, and then after that, I moved to the projects. After I moved to from the projects, I moved on 48th and Boyd, so the same little area, and it was so fucking ghetto. I remember one time it was me and my two little babies and my homegirl over, and her nigga came over there with a gun, threatened to shoot up my little old house because he was into it with his girlfriend, who was my homegirl, who was in my house. And me and my little kids was hiding. It was, girl, the house was like, you know how they say those shotgun houses?
I know.
Little, you can like literally walk in the front and see the back and everything. Like,
I know somebody you close
man,
with.
we had like nowhere to hide. Like nowhere to hide.
I know somebody you close with that used to live over there.
Girl, okay, the person you talking about is probably the person who nigga tried to shoot up our house.
Your relative?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so yeah. But that it was so hot over there. It was so hot over there, and that's why I say,
like I said, my mom moved over there because you know she was trying to start over. Mom was trying to start over. She had my brother, and at the time I was living with my dad. But you know, I would come over there, you know, kick it with mom and my brother and shit. But man, there was times in the middle of the night, I never forget. It was more than once, but one particular night, this lady running through, you know how the front was like a balcony, basically. It just wrapped around. But she running through that motherfucker butt-ass naked, screaming and beating on people's doors. To my help, he gonna kill me. And this dude running behind her with a big-ass knife. Bitch, you think I'm finna open my door?
Hell no.
Now look, I will call 911 for you, but I can't let you in.
Girl, that's why
you just ain't gonna go down like that. I'm sorry.
If anybody could ever call me to the carpet and say that Tanya spoke about somebody's dwelling place, can't nobody call me to the carpet and ever say Tanya talked about somebody's dwelling place, somebody talking about somebody doing bad, because I'm one of those motherfuckers who, I'm from the hood. Like, our platform is called the Hood Table, but some people don't really take it as these niggas is from the hood. You know what I'm saying? And we done had hood tendencies and lived a hood life and went through hood experiences. But that's one thing I don't know if I got it mainly from my mother or mainly from just living in the hood. But I try so very, very hard not to judge people who are homeless, who ain't got a lot, or okay, to this day, you know how people will be inviting you to places, to parties and shit. You might go to a motherfucking house, they ain't got no furniture.
Man, I remember one time.
I don't even remember how. I be up in there. I be just like, hey, what's cool? You know what? I'm that bitch. You invite me to your crib. You in the projects. It don't matter. I'm up in there. Yeah, we turning up. It's your birthday. Like, I don't give a fuck.